Hi, all my ICSE students. Let's begin with our new story today, The Pedestrian by Ray Douglas Bradbury. Please open your textbooks and let's read first about the author. Ready? Ray Douglas Bradbury, 1920 to 2012, was one of the most celebrated 20th century American authors and screenwriters. He worked in a variety of modes, including fantasy, science fiction, horror, mystery, and realistic fiction. The Pedestrian, set in a dystopian future, opens where even going for a walk is seen as an aberration. Mead is picked up, questioned, and sent off to an asylum. His misdemeanor? Walking around alone, which is considered regressive. The story depicts the dangers of isolation and the absence of a community. There is a prophecy of what might happen if we continue with our increasingly self obsessed, self contained lives. This narrative is a chilling wake up call. Okay, let's start with the story. The Pedestrian by Ray Bradbury. To enter out into that silence that was the city at 8 o'clock of a misty evening in November. To put your feet upon that bucking concrete walk. To step over the grassy seams and make your way, hands in pocket, through the silences. That was what Mr. Leonard Mead most dearly loved to do. He would stand upon the corner of an intersection and peer down long moonlight avenues of sidewalk in four directions, deciding which way to go. But it really made no difference. He was alone in this world of AD 2053, or as good as alone. And with a final decision made, a path selected, he would stride off, sending patterns of frosty air before him like the smoke of a cigar. Sometimes he would walk for hours and miles and return only at midnight to his house. And on his way, he would see the cottages and homes with their dark windows, and it was not unequal to walking through a graveyard where only the faintest glimmers of firefly light appeared in flickers behind the windows. Suddenly, grey phantoms seemed to manifest upon inner room walls where a curtain was still undrawn against the night. Or there were whisperings and murmurs where a window in a tomb-like building was still open. Mr. Leonard Mead would pause, cock his head, listen, look, and march on, his feet making no noise on the lumpy walk. For long ago, he had wisely changed to sneakers while strolling at night, because the dogs in intermittent squads would parallel his journey with barkings if he wore hard heels. The lights might click on and faces appear, and an entire street be startled by the passing of a lone figure himself in the early November evening. On this particular evening, he began his journey in a westerly direction, towards the hidden sea. There was a good crystal frost in the air to cut the nose and made lungs blaze like a Christmas tree inside. You could feel the cold light going on and off, all the branches filled with invisible snow. He listened to the faint push of his soft shoes through the autumn leaves with satisfaction, and whistled a cold, quiet whistle between his teeth, occasionally picking up a leaf as he passed, examining its skeletal pattern in the infrequent lamplights as he went on, smelling its rusty smell. "Hello, in there," he whispered to every house on every side as he moved. "What's up tonight on Channel 4, Channel 7, Channel 9? Where are the cowboys rushing? And do I see the United States cavalry over the next hill to the rescue?" The street was silent and long and empty, with only his shadow moving like the shadow of a hawk in mid-country. If he closed his eyes and stood very still, frozen, He could imagine himself upon the center of a plain, a wintry, windless Arizona desert with no house in 1,000 miles, and only the dry river beds and streets for company. What is it now? He asked the houses, noticing his wristwatch. 8:30 p.m.? Time for a dozen assorted murders? A quiz? A review? A comedian falling off the stage? Was that a murmur of laughter from within a moon-white house? He hesitated, but went on when nothing more happened. He stumbled over a particularly uneven section of the sidewalk. The cement was vanishing under the flowers and grass. In 10 years of walking by night and day for thousands of miles, he had never met another person walking, not once in all that time. He came to a cloverleaf intersection which stood silent where two main highways crossed the town. During the day, it was a thunderous surge of cars, the gas stations open, a great insect rustling, and a ceaseless jockeying for position as the Scrabble beetles, a faint incense puttering from their exhausts, skimmed homeward to the far directions. But now, these highways too were like streams in a dry season, all stone and bed and moon radiance. He turned back on a side street, circling around towards his home. He was within a block of his destination when the lone car turned a corner quite suddenly and flashed a fierce white cone of light upon him. He stood entranced, not unlike a night moth, stunned by the illumination, then drawn toward it. A metallic voice called him, "Stand still! Stay where you are! Don't move!" He halted. "Put up your hands!" "But," he said, "your hands up or we'll shoot!" The police, of course. But what a rare, incredible thing. In a city of 3 million, there was only one police car left. Wasn't that correct? Ever since a year ago, 2052, the election year, the force had been cut down from 3 cars to 1. Crime was ebbing. There was no need now for the police, save for this one lone car wandering and wandering the empty streets. "Your name," said the police car in a metallic whisper. He couldn't see the men in it for the bright light in his eyes. "Leonard Mead," he said. "Speak up!" "Leonard Mead. Business or profession?" "I guess you could call me a writer." "No profession," said the police car, as if talking to itself. The light held him fixed like a museum specimen, needle thrust through the chest. "You might say that," said Mr. Mead. He hadn't written in years. Magazines and books didn't sell anymore. Everything went on in the tomb-like houses at night now, he thought, continuing his fancy. The tombs, ill-lit by television light, where the people sat like the dead, the grey or multicolored lights, touching their faces but never really touching them. "No profession," said the phonograph voice hissing. "What are you doing out?" "Walking," said Leonard Mead. "Walking?" "Just walking," he said simply, but his face felt cold. "Walking? Just walking? Walking?" "Yes, sir." "Walking where? For what?" "Walking for air. Walking to sea." "Your address?" 11 South, St. James Street. "And there is air in your house? You have an air conditioner, Mr. Mead?" "Yes." "And you have a viewing screen in your house to see with?" "No." "No?" There was a crackling quiet that in itself was an accusation. "Are you married, Mr. Mead?" "No." "Not married," said the police voice behind the fiery beam. The moon was high and clear among the stars, and the houses were grey and silent. Nobody wanted me, said Leonard Mead with a smile. Don't speak unless you're spoken to. Leonard Mead waited in the cold night. Just walking, Mr. Mead? Yes. But you haven't explained for what purpose. I explained. For air and to see and just to walk. Have you done this often? Every night for years. The police car sat in the center of the street with its radio throat faintly humming. Well, Mr. Mead, it said. Is that all? He asked politely. Yes, said the voice. Here. There was a sigh, a pop. The back door of the police car sprang wide. Get in. Wait a minute. I haven't done anything. Get in. I protest. Mr. Mead. He walked like a man suddenly drunk. As he passed the front window of the car, he looked in. As he had expected, there was no one in the front seat. No one in the car at all. Get in. He put his hand to the door and peered into the back seat, which was a little cell, a little black jail with bars. It smelled of riveted steel. It smelled of a harsh antiseptic. It smelled too clean and hard and metallic. There was nothing soft there. Now, if you had a wife to give you an alibi, said the iron voice, but where are you taking me? The car hesitated, or rather gave a faint whirring click, as if information somewhere was dropping card by punch-slotted card under electric eyes. To the Psychiatric Center for Research on Regressive Tendencies. He got in. The door shut with a soft thud. The police car rolled through the night avenues, flashing its dim lights ahead. They passed one house on one street a moment later. One house in an entire city of houses that were dark. But this one particular house had all of its electric lights brightly lit, every window a loud yellow illumination, square and warm in the cool darkness. That's my house, said Leonard Mead. No one answered him. The car moved down the empty riverbed streets and off away, leaving the empty streets with the empty sidewalks and no sound, no motion, all the rest of the chill November night. So this was the story that we are going to do, and you must have understood a little bit, of course. It's set in 2053. So this is what the future looks like. Okay. Now before we begin, I want you all to write down the meanings of these particular words. Please turn your books to about the author. You have the word The Pedestrian, the name of the story. The Pedestrian is set in a dystopian future. What is the meaning of dystopian? Please take it down. Dystopian is an imagined society. Dystopian is an imagined society characterized by dehumanization, totalitarian control, environmental disaster, or extreme social inequality. Okay? It is an imagined society characterized by dehumanization, totalitarian control, environmental disaster, or extreme social inequality. Okay, now what is the meaning of aberration? Something which is a deviation from the normal. Aberration means deviation from the normal. Misdemeanor, the meaning of misdemeanor is wrongful act. Regressive, what is the meaning of regressive? To retrogress. Means it is the opposite of progress, so regress. to retrogress. Okay, so now this much for the story and about the author. So let's start with the explanation of the story, and as we move ahead, please keep writing the meanings. Okay, we'll go paragraph by paragraph. Just a moment. Okay, I think before I start explaining the story to you, I would like to give you a note on the title of the story, The Pedestrian. So you can either take a copy or you can copy it down. Or you can pause the video and take a picture. Take down all these three because then I'll be discussing the setting also slowly. But I'm giving them all today. Okay, so let's begin with the discussion on the title, The Pedestrian. It's a very simple word, isn't it? You know what's a pedestrian. Okay, so let's read it. The Pedestrian is a perfect title for the story of Ray Bradbury, as the entire story revolves around a pedestrian who is Leonard Mead. He is the protagonist. Therefore, the title is justified. Who has been going on night walks for the last 10 years. He has been traveling for 10 full years every single day in the night. A pedestrian walking alone at nights creates the background of the story, highlighting its theme of the dehumanizing effect of technology on people. This behavior of not remaining indoors, numbed into complacency by television and walking alone, was seen as a non-conformist by law. So by law, it was a non-conformist attitude where everybody was expected to stay indoors and be in front of their viewing screens, in front of their televisions. This protagonist used to walk out. So it was not accepted by law. Okay. By the law enforcing agencies. So this behavior of not remaining indoors, numbed into complacency by television and walking alone, was seen as non-conformist by law enforcing agencies, being seen as a regressive non-conformist attitude. The robotic police car takes him to the psychiatric center for research on regressive tendencies. To cure him. They think that he needs to go to an asylum, he needs to be cured. The protagonist, Leonard Mead, is identified in the entire story by his peculiarity as a pedestrian, and thus the title is justified. So the entire story revolves around this pedestrian, that because he is walking alone, because he is a non-conformist, because he is not willing to sit in front of the TV, he has committed something, he has committed a crime. He is a regressive person, and therefore he should be taken to an asylum. So everything revolves around the pedestrian walking at night. Therefore you say that the title is justified. Setting we are going to do later on. Okay, we'll begin with the explanation of the story. Let's start. To enter out into that silence that was the city at 8 o'clock of a misty evening in November. To put your feet upon that buckling concrete walk. What do you mean by buckling? Collapsing. Buckling is collapsing. And concrete walk is a walkway which is made of concrete. You would have seen, no? Lots of places we have now where there are concrete walks. There is a garden on both the sides. There are lots of fields and trees and flowers and everything. And in the middle of that entire garden, you have a concrete walk. Okay? So that is a concrete walk. Walkway made of concrete. To step over the grassy seams. Grassy seams is junctions. Seams is junctions. And make your way, hands in pocket, through the silences. That was what Mr. Leonard Mead most dearly loved to do. He would stand upon the corner of an intersection. Intersection is crossing. So he would stand at that intersection of 4 roads. There were 4 directions. And peer down long moonlit avenues. What are avenues? Avenues are wide streets having tall buildings on both the sides of the road. So he would stand at that junction. There would be 4 avenues which had tall buildings on both the sides. He would stand at that junction and he would wonder, where do I go next? What should I go? In which direction should I go? Deciding which way to go. But it really made no difference. He was alone in this world of AD 2053. So this setting of this story is in 2053. Or as good as alone. Now, as good as alone over here, if you notice, children, it is a simile with the use of the words as. So, as good as alone. So, that is a literary device over here, simile. Please write over here, simile. And with a final decision made, so he would decide that, okay, today I'm going to go on this path, whichever path he would want. So, with a final decision made, a path selected, he would stride off. Stride off means walk away with long steps. So he would take long steps and he would start walking away. And when he would start walking, what would happen? Sending a pattern of the frosty air before him, like us, because it was a November evening. So it was cold, it was misty. So because of that cold wintry season, there could have been a little bit of mist, isn't it? The very first sentence says it was a misty evening in November. So when he would start walking, he would send off the smoke as if he was smoking a cigar. He was not actually smoking. It would look like that. Okay. Sometimes he would walk for hours and miles and return only at midnight to his house. And on his way, he would see the cottages and homes with their dark windows. Now, why was it dark windows? Because in the evening, when everybody would come back from home, they would draw up all the curtains and everything would be covered up, and so it would become a dark window because all the lights would be inside the house. So from outside you could see no light. Okay, so dark windows. And it was not unequal to walking through a graveyard. So it was not unequal means it was almost like, but he has not used over here, he maybe the author has not used a simile. He said it was not unequal. So two negatives make a positive. Not unequal. So it was equal to walking through a graveyard where only the faintest glimmers of a firefly light appeared in flickers. So if there were fireflies flying all around, so their little faint lights you could see. Okay, like the fireflies. You know what a firefly is, na? Jugnu. Seemed to manifest upon inner room walls where a curtain was still undrawn against the night. So there could be just 1 or 2 houses where the curtains were not drawn and the curtains were open and you could see the light inside the room. Okay. Against the night, or there were whisperings and murmurs where a window in a tomb-like building was still open. Okay. So now here, the literary device used over here is an auditory imagery. You know what is imagery, right? So here he has used auditory imagery. Auditory imagery is something which appeals to your ears. So this is what he has used over here. Whisperings and murmurs where a window in a tomb-like building was still open. So you can imagine that there was a tomb-like building and maybe one window was open and maybe the people in the house were talking to themselves. So he could hear a small whispering or a murmur. Okay, children, if you notice this entire paragraph which I have read till here, basically it is sort of depicting a lot of death. You know, it was a very negative feeling that he has started off with. See, cold, misty evening. So again, cold. So we symbolize cold with death, right? So it was a cold, misty evening. And then he's saying tomb, like he was alone in this world. It was as if he was walking in a graveyard. Correct? And then he could see phantoms. So all these words, it's as if the author is creating a sinister-like atmosphere for the story to be set. Okay. Mr. Leonard would pause, cock his head. Cock his head means turn his head on one side, listen and look, and march on. His feet making no noise on the lumpy walk. For long ago, he had wisely changed to sneakers. What are sneakers? shoes which are used for running. So wisely, a long time ago, he had changed to sneakers. And why had he changed to sneakers? Because when strolling at the night, because the dogs in intermittent squads means at short intervals, there used to be dogs on the road, and they would parallel his journey with barkings if he wore a hard heel. So when he used to wear those hard heels and he used to walk on that gravel, on that concrete walkway, it would make a noise. So wherever there were dogs on the road, they would bark. So he decided to change, and he changed to sneakers. And lights but click on faces. So as soon as the dogs would start barking, what would happen? People would wonder, oh, why are the dogs barking? So put the doors, the curtains would open, and there would be lights all around which would flash on his face. Okay. Appear, and an entire street be startled by the passing of a lone figure himself in the early November morning. So the entire street, the people living over there who opened their curtains because of the noise of the dog, because the barking of the dogs, they would be startled that, oh my God, what is a lone person doing on the street? That too on a November winter evening. So to avoid that, he had started to use sneakers. I hope you all have understood the story so far. Okay. On this particular evening, he began his journey in a westerly direction. So now today he has started to go towards the west, towards the hidden sea. There was a good crystal frost in the air. It cut the nose and made the lungs blaze like a Christmas tree inside. You could feel the cold light going on and off. All the branches filled with invisible snow. So there is a complete description of winter and coldness. He listened to the faint push of his soft shoes through the autumn leaves with satisfaction. So again here we have auditory image. He listened to the faint push of his soft shoes through the autumn leaves with satisfaction is auditory imagery. And whistled a cold, quiet whistle between his teeth, occasionally picking up a leaf as he passed. So when suddenly he would feel like picking up a leaf, and when he would see this leaf, he would examine its skeletal pattern. Skeletal pattern again is the outline of the leaf. So he would see the outline of the leaf because the leaf was almost dead. So he would see the skeletal pattern. See, again this is close to death. Okay, so he is depicting a sinister mood. The tone is very sinister, and the tone shows you feel as if you are walking in a graveyard. You feel as if there is death all around. Isn't that? At least that's what I felt. Examining its skeletal pattern in the infrequent lamplights as he went on, smelling its rusty smell. So what was he smelling? He was smelling the leaf, and he had a rusty smell of that leaf. Okay. And of course there were lamplights on the road as he went on. Now here if you see the infrequent lamplights as he went on, smelling its rusty smell is also imagery. But this imagery is what we call as olfactory imagery. What do you mean by olfactory imagery? You know the spelling of olfactory? O-L-F-A-C-T-O-R-Y. Olfactory imagery is imagery which appeals to your sense of smell. Okay, so it's appealing to your smell. So you write over here, this is an example of an olfactory imagery. Hello, in there he whispered to every house on every side as he moved. What's up tonight on Channel 4, Channel 7, Channel 9? Where are the cowboys rushing? And do I see the United States cavalry on the next hill to the rescue? The street was silent, long and empty, with only his shadow moving like the shadow of a hawk in mid-country. So now here what I want you all to notice is the very first one. Hello, in there he whispered. Now he whispered is an imagery which is a figure of speech. You must be aware of that, onomatopoeia. Okay, so it's an onomatopoeia because he is whispering. What is an onomatopoeia? Where the word conveys the sound. That is called an onomatopoeia. So that is the word over here we have. He whispered. Then from the street was silent up to mid-country. It's more of a visual imagery where you can imagine that the street is long, it's empty, and he's the lone shadow who is moving like this, like this, like this, as if it is a hawk which is coming and hovering somewhere around mid-country. Okay, so it looks like that. If he closed his eyes, so it is visual imagery. I gave you an example. Then he closed his eyes and stood very still, frozen. He could imagine himself upon the center of a plain, a wintry, windless Arizona desert with no house in 1,000 miles and only dry riverbeds, the streets for company. So now this is just his imagination, that he closed his eyes and he imagined himself. Then if he would imagine, he could think of himself as if he was standing in the middle of Arizona desert, and in that Arizona desert there was nothing for thousands of miles. There was not a single house which he could see. There was no streets, there were no company, there was nothing. So again, this is an example of visual imagery. Okay, you can write that down. It's an example of visual imagery. What is it now? He asked the houses, noticing his wristwatch. So he's asking the houses. He's not talking to any people because the people are inside their house. But he's looking at the house, or he's going near the house, and he's asking the house. So he's asking he's asking the inmates of the house, but they are not hearing him. No. So it's as if he's addressing the house. So he's asking the house, what is it now? Then he looked at his wristwatch and he said, it's 8:30 p.m. Time for a dozen of assorted murders. Assorted murders is mixed murders. So some serial which could be going on. Or a quiz. Or a review. What is a review? A review is an entertainment program which actually satirizes any topic or any issue. So it's a satire on a current topic or issue. That is called a review. Okay. A comedian falling off the stage. So what are you all watching now? That is what he means to ask. Was that a murmur of laughter? Now again, murmur of laughter is onomatopoeia, where you can feel the image is conveyed through the sound. That is onomatopoeia. Okay. Was that a murmur of laughter from within a moon-white house? He hesitated, but went on when nothing more happened. He stumbled over a particularly uneven section of the sidewalk. The cement was vanishing under flowers and grass. So what does this show you? That this place has not been used by people. People are not used to walking on that area. And that cement concrete walkway which was built, on that little grass was growing. So it was an unkept sort of a road. Okay, and grass was again replacing the cement. So this, I felt it shows a sense of life coming again. It's not that everything is just dead, but life is blooming again. So life is going to be there because the grass is growing. Okay, that's what I felt. He stumbled over a particularly uneven section of the sidewalk. The cement was vanishing under flowers and grass. In 10 years of walking by night or day for thousands of miles, he had never met another person walking, not once in all that time. So he had never seen anybody walking, and he had been walking for the past 10 years, but he had never seen anyone walking. And now these flowers and grass was growing. He came to a cloverleaf intersection. You know what's a cloverleaf intersection? It's a junction of roads at the top. It's a junction of roads which are intersecting at different levels. You can write that down. Cloverleaf intersection means a junction of roads which intersect at different levels. So he came to a cloverleaf intersection which stood silent where two main highways crossed the town. During the day, it was a thunderous surge of cars. The gas stations open, a great insect rustling, and a ceaseless jockeying for the position as the scrap beetles, a faint incense puttering from their exhausts, skimmed homeward to far directions. But now these highways too were like streams in a dry season, all stone and bed and moon radiance. Okay, now this paragraph. Now he has given us another imagery for us to imagine. He has come to an intersection of roads which were crossing at different levels. Okay, he has come over there, and two main highways were crossing on his at the town. Now what happened during the daytime, this particular intersection, there used to be a thunderous surge of cars. What do you mean by surge of cars? A strong sudden movement. A surge of something is a strong sudden movement, whether it's water, whether it is cars. Here he has used the word cars. It can also be water, it can also be noise, it can be anything. A surge is something which is a strong sudden movement. Okay, so there was a thunderous surge of cars during the daytime. And what used to happen during the daytime? All the gas stations used to be open, and it was as if a great insect, the scarab beetle is an insect. Okay, so he's talking about that. A great insect rustling and a ceaseless jockeying for position as the scarab beetles. A faint incense of puttering from their exhausts. Now here again we have the olfactory imagery where he says a faint incense of puttering. Puttering is moving out slowly. Okay, now children, these beetles, these scarab beetles that they've given you, they've broken up the word over here. It is a scarab beetle. These beetles, they lay their eggs in dung. Okay, so after laying their egg in dung, they slowly come out of that. So that is what he's saying, a faint incense puttering from their exhaust. Puttering over here means moving out slowly. After laying their eggs in their dung, this crab beetle is coming out slowly. So it's an olfactory image. Okay, skimmed. Once it is out, it skims quickly. Skimming means to move quickly. So it skimmed homeward to the far directions. So it's a metaphorical comparison between the cars and the beetles. Okay. But now these highways means at this time and during night, these highways, they were like streams in a dry season. Now what do you mean by streams in a dry season? This is again a metaphor. No, sorry, you use this over here as a simile because he has used the word like. So he has compared the highways to the streams of a dry season. So during a dry season, the streams will dry up. So they dry up so that river bed or that stream bed looks dry. So these highways, which used to have a lot of noise during the daytime, at night it has become like a stream in a dry season. Okay, all stone and bed and moon radiance. What do you mean by moon radiance? Because earlier you see he has mentioned over here that the lamp lights were very less, I think. Where is it gone? Somewhere we had read that he has mentioned. Yeah, come to the earlier page where I have given you the olfactory imagery. The infrequent lamp lights. So it shows that the lamp lights were infrequent. It means they were widely spaced. They were not close to each other. So this road at this time was lit because of the moon. So it was a moonlit radiance which was shining on the road, and therefore they looked like the dry streams. Okay, I hope you have understood till here. So we'll stop over here. And he turned to the backside on a side street. We'll continue in the next module. Till then, you all can go through this entire thing and learn up everything, read everything well, so that when we continue with the next module, we can go fast and we can do as much as we can quickly, so that your portion also gets covered fast. And wish you all the best. Do study and keep practicing writing. Like I've always been telling you, please learn small chunks. Even if you have lots of subjects to cater to every subject. Make a timetable for yourself. Form your own timetable. Decide that on this particular day I will do so much. On this particular day, this subject I'll be handling. Fitting in all your schools, all your tuitions, wherever you're going. If you're not going for tuitions, good for you. If you're going for tuitions, also good for you. And if you're watching things on the internet, or if you're watching things on YouTube, that is also good for you. So you decide. The main thing that you have to do is to decide. Have a plan made. It's high time you all made a plan. We are at mid-June and your exams are going to approach. You're going to have prelims shortly. Before that, you'll be having another exam. I don't know, some schools have 2 prelims. Some schools have 1 prelim. So depending on whether your school is giving you 2 prelims or whether your school is giving you 1 prelim, it's time you would know So you decide that if your school is giving you 2 prelims, then you will know the month of your first prelim. So you plan your timetable that by in the month of June, from Monday to Friday, I go to school for so much time. Then I have my classes for so much time. If you have classes on a particular day, say for example, I'm just giving you a tip. If for example you are going for classes, say for English, okay, and with that you have a maths and science class, or you have a maths and say biology class. So if you are going for English, maths and biology on a particular day, ensure that at home you do another subject, so you are giving equal balance to all your subjects, whether it is simple reading or whatever. So you plan your timetable and you do accordingly. And also remember that your attendance, there is a particular percentage of attendance which is necessary, and make sure you do that, you give that attendance. So, and leaving time in case you are sick or you are ill and you are not able to go to school. So you plan accordingly. Okay, so that is what I want to tell you, that please plan and give time to yourself to learn. Because if you will only be attending classes, if you will only attend teaching, when are you going to do learning? Learning is as important as teaching. In fact, learning is more important, because a teacher may teach you everything, but how much have you been able to grasp? How much have you been able to learn? That is more important. Okay, so plan your timetable accordingly. Give yourself sufficient amount of time for learning, and in your learning you can plan out how much you're going to write and all. Sit with a plan. Basically what I want to tell you is, have a plan in front of you. Don't make long plans, make a short term plan. Say just for this month, then maybe for the month of July you can evaluate your own plan, and then for July make something else, but plan. If you do planned study, planning something is half conquered, because you know where you are going. Okay, so plan your work and then work accordingly. So first plan and then work according to the plan. Okay, so bye children, see you all again in my next module, where I will continue with this story, The Pedestrian. Bye, see you all.